This is in a podcast. My name is Marlon. The aim is capsule store participants in the guide to explore the stories and give their opinion. Although the news is out there, the news, several people news affects our lives. It's still underreported generally. Many of us already know we're 100% in the media. So the aim of this podcast is a little bit of effort to try and address the balance. So let's dive into the news. Story 1. It's from the BBC. Rugby player Stormer back gives him second chance. A rugby league player who underwent life-saving surgery is described being able to get back on the pitch. The Stormer back has a second chance. Michael Adams, 30 from Africa, North Yorkshire. Several weeks in pure agony with ulcerative colitis after falling seriously on Boxing Day this year. After recovery, he is now back playing the sport with his Stormer back as anticipated rugby league side Costa UK. In quotes, it says, "It just shows people that you can go out and do whatever you want." Mr. Adams spent 12 years in the British Army as part of the Royal Electric and Mechanical Engineers. After leaving in 2023, he planned to move to Australia and find a new job at the local rugby side to join. Fortunately, just before I left on Boxing Day, I got sick, he said. The whole intestine was inflamed, I felt with ulcers, and it was pure agony. Michael spent several weeks after trying to go on treatment before making the decision to have it Stormer fitted. Nothing was working for me. I was having different therapies. Different drugs trying and none of them were working, he said. Me and my mum sat there and had a little while. The next day I was shipped off to get Stormer back. Because the Colostomy UK charity wants to encourage more people to see Stormer back's as life enabling rather than life limiting. Even was playing high contact sports. He said it was a mental challenge of coming from being in the army and being a strong feat of the present to being down at the bottom. He said, "My goal was to get back on the pitch and I managed to do that in 12 weeks post surgery. Not sure my Stormer nurse would be too happy with me saying that, but I absolutely loved it." He added the Stormer doesn't actually have any feeling whatsoever, so if I take a knock it doesn't hurt at all. And says what is ulcerative colitis is a form of inflammatory bowel disease with colon and rectum become inflamed. Painful ulcers can develop on the lining of the large intestinal bowel. There often are specific triggers for flare-ups, and it's unclear what causes the immune system to behave this way. It can be treated with medication for most people, but in serious cases, part or all of the intestine is removed and diverted through an opening in the abdomen. Stormer back is attached to people to the outside of the body to collect waste and exchange when necessary. Christine Adams, his mother, said from him saying he was going to have a Stormer to where he's got to now is absolutely brilliant. And Colostomy UK says about 2,000 people live with the Stormer bug in the UK, around 1 in every 335 people. Well, it's a good story that, Mum, again, the story that just shows the work support and even life-changing conditions support so that people can continue living a relatively relative to them and their experience whatever normal life I hate that saying, but it's what it demonstrates, and again and I see some support in there as well. Second stories from the Spitting News Service. The government ignores warnings of new DWP debts and new intervention as MPs pass Universal Credit Cuts Bill. Labour MPs have voted to impose $2 billion a year cuts on disabled people who cannot work despite last-minute intervention by UN disability rights experts, and repeated warnings that the bill will cost lives, despite efforts to defeat the must-change bill or at least soften its remaining measures, particularly by a small group of backbench Labour MPs. The Universal Credit Bill was easily passed by MPs outside. It will now be debated in the Lords, will almost certainly not be able to make any changes to the bill, and it is now likely to become new law later this month. Several people and disabled groups organisations were last night using words such as shameful, cruel, and gut punch and deep concern to describe the bill and the process that led to being approved by MPs. The bill will see cuts to spending and new claims of the Universal Credit Health element of more than $2 billion a year by 2029-30. By 2029-30, this will mean that 750,000 Universal Credit claimants who cannot work for disability reasons see the health element addition of £1,050 a week compared to the £97 a week existing claimants could receive. Existing health element claimants and just 80,000 new claimants, less than 10% of new claimants will be protected from this cut because they're terminally ill or qualify for Labour's new severe conditions group, although there was some relief last week that the government withdrew planned cuts to universal independence payments, PIP, at least. To the end of the year-long review, headed by Social Security and Disability Minister Sir Stephen Timms, there was still significant opposition from Labour MPs to the bill's cuts and outright disability benefits. Disabled Labour MP Olivia Blake, who later voted against the bill, told fellow MPs that would push many disabled people further into poverty. Well, I mean, we knew this was coming, unfortunately. Labour government haven't learned the lessons from 14 years of austerity. Whoever came in was going to take the welfare bill. And I think, as Freya suggests, it means more disabled people being forced even further into poverty. One can only hope the Lords try to kind of add some amendments to send it back, but I don't know how true the comment is there. It's almost impossible to put amendments in there, any further amendments in there, but you hope the House of Lords will try some way to try and put amendments in there. But as I said before, I think whichever way we dice it, they'll be further cuts. I think they'll come for the cuts that they couldn't get through this time and later down the line, unfortunately. I think the task force that works with Stephen Timms have got the work cut out, but hopefully during the consultations they can bring something to the table that kind of softens the blow for disabled people and moving forward creates a system that is a bit more dynamic than what's on the table at the moment. I don't have that much faith in that idea because I think whenever there are consultations with disabled people, tend to go one way, which is a watered down version of whatever legislation there's disabled people propose, but one can only hope. Story 3 is regarding MW bosses unfairly dismissed disabled work after spying on him. Disabled BMW worker was discriminated against and fully dismissed after bosses authorised to cover surveillance on him, believing he was exaggerating his back pain. Tribunals found Mohamed Kurita, who works in the firm's manufacturing factory, suffered with back pain from 2017. Tribunal heard. In March 2023, physiotherapist emailed the absence manager Richard Darfield to say that Kurita had been signed off work by his GP for 2 months. The physiotherapist said he couldn't explain the level of pain Kurita was experiencing and why he remained unfit for work at Tribunal heard. DeVille and the HR manager, Akhil Patel, instructed the security firm G4S to carry out surveillance on the claimant, which the employment judge, Emma Jane Hawkes, said was a highly unusual step. G4S surveillance operative found Kurita found him from behind, walking about 3 miles in about 1.5 hours, even though the claimant never said he could not walk. Tribunal heard. In a report, they said there was no indication whatsoever that the claimant had lower back, leg or shoulder pain or was experiencing sickness or dizziness despite not filming Kurita's face. Therefore, led to approach a senior manager to get more funding. Further surveillance to ensure my best outcome, the Tribunal heard. In May 2023, Kurita was dismissed for gross misconduct, including a fraudulent claim of company sick pay and unacceptable levels of absence during a disciplinary meeting. He said that he was in the wrong area and needed to go out duties, but his managers told him there were none and sent him out. Tribunal heard. Tribunal found that Kurita's back pain met the definition of a disability under the Equality Act 2010. Judge Hawksworth said it could be inferred that managers had a level of distrust or hostility towards associates with back conditions and were unwilling to take their word for it that they had back pain, or were quick to conclude that a person with a back condition was not being honest about their symptoms. The judge added to reaffirm that the respondent made assumptions about what the claimant had told them about his ability to walk and about the G4S surveillance film. Kurita's claim of failure to make reasonable adjustments, disability discrimination, and wonderful dismissal succeeded. Wow. His first response: surveillance. Wow. Well, he's a multinational company, so BMW, they've got plenty of wongables. G4S, jeez. I'm actually from Sanchez's shoulder. That could be to go as far as hiring a security firm. I mean, how legal that is, I don't know. I'm in opposition to being said by the judge about them preaching. Well, obviously they preached the law in terms of the treatment of him, but I'd like to know about the legality of surveillance in itself, let alone the overall discrimination. I think it's very an important case, because particularly when it comes to back pain, because again, going back to benefits in the welfare sector, I know we're not on that, but going back to that and the old adage, and everyone's quote unquote got back pain and feeling back pain, feeling the sick and the system, blah 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 blah. You know, that's the old adage that cynics use. But surely this is some kind of precedent in terms of going towards quashing that, and for employers, and not just employers but GPs, assessors of benefits, because if back pain is, if this ruling really has legs, then surely this is some kind of precedent, because obviously it's very hard to therefore measure pain and in back pain and stuff. But if this person wanna claim a tribunal on that, it's covered in the Equalities Act, etc. and so forth, then that kind of dispels a lot of the myths that are targeted with people who suffer back pains. But I think people pretty knows for BMW, but just can't say for BMW, but it's also for a lot of employers that do kind of discriminate against employees with back pain. I'm just still trying to get over the lengths to which they went to try and disprove this man by having surveillance, but no, I think there's important lessons to be learned from this. Anyway, it's a final story. Thanks for listening.